Hello everyone, welcome to our weekly SIG meeting. Today we have quite a lot of items on the agenda. The first one is from Suraj, I guess.
The first one was already addressed by Guy. It was about letting users label issues, which they can now do right now. But the issue is already being tracked, so we can skip talking about it. Second one was more of a question. Um, is there a latest tag available to try a master version of Cluster Autoscaler?
Sorry, once again, what was the question?
The question is there a latest tag available to try the master branch version of Cluster Autoscaler to test out things?
We don't build images outside of releases, so I think the way to do this is to just compile your own version.
Okay.
Yeah, for reference, there's currently, it's not an automated build process to build the images. It's fairly manual. So we don't have an automated setup currently to be able to do that easily.
Should I create a ticket around this maybe?
I think the likelihood of us getting to it, unless there's a significant benefit to users, I think the likelihood of us getting to it anytime sooner pretty low is my guess.
Let's skip on this for now then. Thank you.
Yeah, I feel like if we had the latest tag, it would just probably make it point on the last release, like the 129 or something, rather than regularly built from master. I'd imagine. I think master is quite often, at least temporarily, getting into not working state outside of releases. So probably that would be like some sort of development image. I don't think we want people actually using master in production, just because that's not going to work a lot of the time.
I see.
Okay, the next item is from Vishal, but he is not here. And the PRs that are mentioned in his item are already merged. So I guess we can move it to done and out of the current agenda. The next item is Jack.
Hey, everybody. So is it possible for me to give a quick demo? I'll definitely keep it brief, I promise. Could you grant me screen share if possible?
Sure.
Actually, looks like maybe I already can, which is dangerous, but
I'm
let's see if I
making
can.
you a co-host. Now you should be able to do whatever you want.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to share my terminal here. Can everybody see a large node output? Cool. All right. So with this super interesting visualization, I'm going to briefly demonstrate a feature request I'd like to bring into Cluster Autoscaler, and that is the ability to hibernate nodes that are scaled down so that future scale out operations can rehydrate those existing nodes. So there's certain scenarios for which this is appropriate. If you're using immutable images like flat car, this is a potentially useful optimizing feature for Cluster Autoscaler. How this would work is there would be a single global configuration, and then each provider would have to opt in and provide one or more complementary configurations to actually do the implementation. It wouldn't be code affecting in any way to the existing Cluster Autoscaler. There are a few integration points where this would be operative, specifically cleaning up taints during the next Cluster Autoscaler main loop after scale down, so that future workloads can actually be scheduled onto these not ready, sort of persistent not ready nodes. there is cluster health foo that at present currently filters out not ready nodes and eventually declares the cluster not healthy. So there's some tweaks that have to go there. There may be one other spot. So essentially, if there's a feature gate for cluster autoscaler itself, it allows those evolutions in the cluster autoscaler to be not code impacting for existing users. It would just be an opt-in. So the main reason why I wanted to demonstrate this and show this and explain it is to get a sense. I know it's a brief introduction, but to get the sense that this needs to be a proposal. If so, I'm happy to do that. Or if this can just be handled through the PR process, if a feature like this is not too controversial. So real quickly, I've got a cluster here with, how many nodes is this? 50, I think, 52. So what I'm going to do is I've got an empty deployment here. I'm just going to scale this out to a predetermined number of replicas that's going to rehydrate that. So now we'll see. A bunch of pending pods. And real quickly, while that's doing its thing, I'll show that I'm running my own build of cluster autoscaler with this functional prototype on it. So if I get that deployment, we can see that the way that I've done it now. So I've got, where's my image? You can see I'm running an arbitrary build here. And it looks like, I think in this functional prototype, there's no config, but there would be an additional config in here for this. Right now, it's just the cluster autoscaler secret config that has all the information. All right, we should have nodes now. We got this. So depending on, every infrastructure is going to be different. And this isn't necessarily going to be a lot faster for every infrastructure provider, but for some it may be faster. For Azure, it typically is faster, but there are some other reasons why this would be useful. So maybe I can open it up for questions. This is almost done. Got a few more. Does anybody have any questions about this? And then I'd be happy to take feedback on whether or not this should be a proposal. Go ahead, VJ.
Hey, am I audible?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, so here basically the nodes would still keep running, right? Even when they're not ready. So let's say the number of pod count is pretty low, so the rest of the nodes would still be running. Am I right on that? It's just that
that's gonna be cloud provider dependent. So I'm using Azure right now. In Azure, the nodes are not running. What happens is that they are essentially hibernated. In Azure, it's called deallocation. You essentially take a runtime snapshot of memory and compute, and you push that off somewhere, and now you're paying for storage long term, but you're not paying for compute. And so the underlying infrastructure is not running when those VMs are hibernated. Does that answer your question? But this is, again, each provider is going to be specific.
understood.
But
Yeah,
I think that it would be something like that across cloud providers. Maciek?
got it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, but my comment was about the specifically like different providers, because that seems like a useful feature. But it would be good if we make the abstraction portable across multiple providers. So it would be interesting, I think, to have at least a few providers as an example, and also I assume we will need to extend the cloud provider API to have the call to actually hibernate the instance as a new functionality. So again, like I think from perspective of portability, it would be good to like at least do some research on how this works on different providers, just to see if we can make it compatible. I don't think this is like stopping the feature in any way. Just like it would be good to make sure it can work across providers, at least some of them. Probably it's not going to be all, because I don't know if all clouds have a feature like this, but at least those that do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I know Daniel was looking for something similar on GC, so it would be probably worth discussing with him.
Cool.
If we have two clouds, or maybe like try to pick maybe 1, 2 other ones that would already be at least some sample size, so we can have a higher chance of it working across the board.
Yep, I like that idea. Any thoughts on whether this can be scoped and discussed in the PR process, or would this be better served with a proposal, or is a proposal too formal and too heavyweight? Any thoughts?
I would at least open an issue tagging everyone just to gather the interest of different providers who want to get involved. I'm not sure if this needs to be a proposal, but at least having an issue to have initial discussion maybe before PR, because PR is already a specific implementation, whereas for deciding, like, I don't know, discussing the provider changes and sort of gathering how this could work on different platforms, I think an issue could be a way.
Great. Jesse, I see you raising your hand.
I was just going to say for Oracle's cloud provider, I'm not sure if we provide the underlying Hibernate functionality. We might, because we've been working with a customer using the Autoscaler who requested this feature actually to us. So just wanted to add that, yeah, I've seen a customer actually want this functionality.
Okay, cool. That's great feedback, Maciek and others. So there actually is an existing issue. So I'll re-audit that existing issue and see if it's the right issue for all of us to move forward on, or I can create a new one and then link the old issue to it. But yeah, so that'll be my next step. Will be just to sort of simultaneously marshal folks who are interested in this feature, describe my proposed solution in an issue, and move the PR. So there's a PR in the queue that's tagged as work in progress right now. It's basically done. So I'll just move that into a more reviewable state, and I think we can continue to make incremental progress. So I'll call this out maybe in the next week or two at a follow-up meeting when there's progress. Cool. I think that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for this one. The next item is from Marco. Actually, like 2 items.
Yep, 2 items that also already showed up last week. We kind of postponed them because nobody with deeper VPA insights was in that meeting. So yeah, I mean, the first one is an issue raised by a user where they were asking, like, if we could reduce the minimum recommendations of VPA to something smaller than 10 milli-CPU, and they were referencing the VPA on GKE, which apparently does this. That change is kind of non-trivial because we would need to increase the VPA checkpoint version, which was done the last time like 5 years ago.
Okay, I've got a question here. Why do you want to have a smaller recommendation than 10 milli cores? Is it
it's
more
not me asking
fine-grained?
this, right?
Is it more fine-grained or actually smaller, like, I don't know, 5 milli cores instead of 10?
It's smaller than. That's what they are asking for, yeah.
Okay, and what's the reason? Like, if we are getting to this very small amounts, it's quite hard to have good measures there.
Yeah, so apparently they have some workload where this would be useful. I think they like the main issue they seem to have is that they have seen it work differently on GKE and are now wondering, like, hey, if I'm using this on a different platform, like with this open source implementation, it works differently. Is there a reason for it? Can we change it? Why?
Yeah. Okay, so on GKE we don't use the snapshots. We have our internal storage. On snapshots we have a histogram, and histogram has some resolution. And I guess brackets could be adjusted.
Mhm.
At least a flag could be added. I'm not sure how easy it would be to do a live migration without losing content, but if they are willing to have additional flag and starts the histogram in a different way, that's probably doable. I don't see problems other than it may not be like the best idea to go below 10 milliseconds requests. Sorry, 10 millicore requests.
Yeah, so I think I tried to capture the like at least some of the nuances around what that means for checkpoint versions in the sub bullet points there. If you could add some information in that issue regarding like why, in your experience, it's probably not a good idea to go below recommendations below 10 millicpu, that would be great.
Okay, can do.
I don't have any. And I guess I just brought that up because I saw that issue and did see that this would require changes to the checkpoint version, and I'm just not sure if it's worth it, right? So we may as well just answer them like we don't see a good connection between like effort and outcome. So like if you're willing to contribute this, sure, but
okay, can do. To be honest, in general, I don't think that that's like the most useful thing to have, like very, very tiny fine-grained recommendations there. But yeah, if they want to do it like an opt-in feature without breaking everyone others, I cannot block them. And if they submit the PR and the PR looks reasonable, it will be merged. But I will express my concerns, so we'll do that. What about the second item?
Yeah, second item is that I think sometime in December we discovered that VPA end-to-end tests are red for a while. I did provide a PR to fix this, but ever since then it has been hanging around there. So I guess
You got
some comments or
LGCM 20 minutes ago.
Perfect. Didn't check right for the meeting. Thanks.
Okay, yeah. Just before meeting someone LGCM it, and I think it's not approved yet, so I will approve it, and it will be merged shortly.
Awesome. Thanks.
Okay, and next thing, Jeff. Do we have Jeff? We don't have Jeff. Do we have David?
Here I am. Hello. So it's been a long time. Hello, guys. I've been facing one problem in our infra. We're using VPA. I had one part that has been receiving recommendation when it should not have. And I had the impression that it's because it was kind of adopted because of its set of labels. To give more context, this was like an orphan pod, someone that creates a pod just like handcrafted for end-to-end test purposes, by the way. And the thing is that next to this, we had a VPA object referencing a deployment that has a label selector that was matching that pod. And somehow, so the updater and the admission took that pod and associated it to the VPA object. And digging into the code, I found out that we have some functions that make the join between pods and the VPA object. And they are based on label selector. And I was wondering, why don't we look at owner ref? So I don't know if there is historic reasons there or anything else. So I wrote this PR that is linked here on Friday to try to add like a check for owner ref on top of the label selector that I have kept, but also verifying that the pod owner reference, the grant ancestor, in case it's a replica set and deployment, match the VPA target ref. So I don't know if you have like back in history any reasons why we have never done that, or it's just missing. I don't know.
So in theory, pods from deployment don't have to have owner ref, right? or for a service, and that's how these label selectors work. So they just check the labels, and if they match, then it's a match. And
Quite dangerous.
That's maybe that's dangerous, but I'm under impression that's the only check that it's there, and owner reference is more for information than catching pods in most of the controllers.
What if you have two? I mean, like, I haven't done this test, but if you have two deployment with the same label selectors, there's a risk that the VPA of one apply to the other one, isn't it?
If you
you're
have
smiling.
deployments with the same label selector, chances are that you have already a problem with the deployments themselves.
Agree.
Because they will be confused which pods each of them have.
No, I mean, on the deployment, on the application side, the deployment checks this on RF things.
Okay. So maybe they added it over the years, and simply we didn't.
Yeah, I think that this mechanism has improved over the years. Yeah, at the beginning, only label selector was there. There were some use cases for add options and so on, but this is not happening anymore.
Okay, so it was added on the way, and we simply didn't follow that pattern.
I can try to push more details here if you want, some more evidence, and I will add also like a test case.
That would be great.
Okay. But
Okay.
thank you for your feedback.
I didn't know that deployment now checks both labels and target ref.
At least the deployment controller does. I know.
Okay, good to know. And if that's the way, then probably we should follow the example.
Okay, I try to put some more evidence for this. And just something, my colleagues are going to give like an Datadog own episode about autoscaling, cluster autoscaler, and horizontal watermark pod autoscaler, vertical pod autoscaler. How do we use this at Datadog? So if anybody is interested, feel free to join. It's public. It's on the 25th of June.
Cool, great. Okay, so that was the last item on the agenda. Are there any other topics to be discussed today? I take the silence as no. So thank you all for joining, and see you again next week. Take care. Bye bye.
See ya.